The ultimate act of magic is create something out of nothing. The scary magic tricks are who ones that generates the highest entertainment value, but sometimes many of it's believed to be real rather than just an illusion. The thing about magic is that science we don't understand yet.
The Razor Blade Swallow Act. This dangerous-looking act was performed on America's Got Talent by the Japanese magician Tanba. He first walks down to the judges' table with a razor blade in hand and asks Simon to cut the paper with the razor blade. Tanba then tells everyone that he is going to eat the razor blade, and before they know it, he does exactly that in a terrifying scene. He then eats a paper and puts a lot more razor blades inside his mouth before drinking a glass of liquid to swallow all those blades. Finally, he regurgitates back everything and starts pulling out a string of all the blades that he had swallowed from his mouth. So, did he really swallow all those blades before bringing them back? Well, before revealing the secret, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you get instant notifications of our new video uploads. Now, let's quickly get to the secret. The first and foremost thing is that this is a dangerous trick even when you know the secret, so you should never try this trick at home or anywhere else. In the act, the first few blades which Tanba puts inside his mouth are in fact real ones, but they are not as sharp as they seem to be. So, to avoid putting sharp blades in his mouth, the magician blunts the blades before performing this trick. Now when Simon cuts the paper with that blunt blade, Tanba pulls the paper forcefully on its extremes, so that the paper can be cut easily. Thereafter, he didn't quite swallow the blades as everyone imagined. Rather, he moved the blade toward his left cheek, and the initial few blades were hidden there and not visible to the audience, even when he spoke or ate something. From now onwards, the remaining blades that he puts inside his mouth were fake and were prepared blades. Yes, the second set of blades had colored glucose paste made from sugar applied on them, and they looked like real blades. So he put those pre-processed blades in his mouth, which are even available online for purchase. Also, all these razor blades which he swallows were already tied together by a string, which Tanba hides it behind his fingers. Now, the paper which he ate thereafter is also fake. It's an edible paper coated with a layer of glucose, and anyone can eat it. In the final part, where exactly did he bring those blades back from? Well, when the magician pretends to drink the liquid, here he uses this moment to spit the first few blades, which were real ones, into the bottom of the glass. Also, if we look at the bottom of the glass, we can see the razor blades. Unfortunately, the cup was not opaque enough to hide those blades. Now the magician is only left with the prepared blades which he had concealed in his right cheek. Also, the string which he put in his mouth, he hid under his upper lip. Finally, it was time to give the string a pull as he moves the blades towards the center of his tongue one by one. This would then reveal the pre-prepared second batch of blades that were hiding in his mouth all along, which amazes everyone around. So, the blindfolded sword trick. This trick, performed by Aaron Crow, is quite possibly the most dangerous trick performed on talent shows around the world. Known for being a famous mentalist, here's what he did. He first calls upon a few spectators and one of the judges on stage to start performing his stunts involving sharp objects. For his act, Aaron picks up a burning candle and drops hot liquid wax onto his closed eyes, thus sealing them totally shut. He then blindfolds himself with 3 different materials, i.e. the white gauze, followed by a black tape, and finally the aluminum foil over his head. This was enough to convince the audience members and the judges that he was not able to see anything. Thereafter, he goes on to use various sharp objects, including a sword, to first chop off the objects being held by the spectators. And then finally, slices a pineapple off Howie Mandel's head perfectly. So, how was he able to perform this act so dangerous? Well, here's the secret. Now, you'd think, how come Howie agreed to this act, which was also a huge risk to his life? Obviously, it's a pretty classic Hollywood secret, in which Howie was already informed of the act, Otherwise, why would anyone risk their life? Also, the act was practiced several times with stand-ins, along with the producers of the show giving their approval to perform the same, only after getting to know the key elements of the trick to make sure nothing goes wrong on stage. Now, coming to the secret, the trick consists of two parts. First, the burning candle wax, and second, the blindfolded part. So, how did Aaron's eyes survive the melting wax? Obviously, the candle wax can be very hot, and you should never try this at home or anywhere else. Also, if you see this graph, it shows how much damage our skin suffers when exposed to high temperature. So any wax which has a melting point below 50 degrees Celsius would not damage our skin, if the exposure duration is very short. Here, the liquid wax you see must be paraffin wax or bayberry wax, which has a low melting point. Also, if you observe Aaron, he raises his hand and holds the burning candle quite far away from his eyes. So, this gets enough time for the liquid wax to travel, and as you know, it only takes a few seconds for the wax to melt off and harden completely. Thereafter, he had enough time to open his eyes inside the blindfold while it was still warm and malleable. And even if the wax did cool, it was just a thin layer of wax, which he easily scratched away from his face. So, this is how he kept his eyes safe inside. Now, for the next part, how did he slice off that pineapple? Well, his eyes were all safe, and he was able to see through the covering. Otherwise, the show would never let anyone perform this dangerous act, with him blindfolded and not able to see. But how was he able to see through the layers? Well, he did wrap the white gauze and the black tape followed by the foil. But there's a trick to these props. They were not secured properly around the head, and the way he put all the stuff on his eyes was just a trick. Now, Aaron's a perfect illusionist, and if you check his left-hand index finger, you can see his fingers sneaking and pulling down the blindfold. At the same moment, he wraps a silver foil around his head, which conceals the finger movement underneath. So, the gauze is just like an eye mask, which can be lifted and back down again. But what about the outer covering of foil? Obviously, the white gauze and black tape were a perfect covering which hid his eyes and he couldn't see through. But the foil you see on his head is not an aluminum foil, but a transparent material known as silver window tint, which is mostly applied on car windows. It's a one-way reflective glass material from which he could easily see through. So, he wraps around two layers of that tint, one at the front and the other one at the back of his head. And he separated them while wrapping it around his head. And now you know it, his vision is not blocked, and he can see through the blindfold and goes about cutting the objects with quite ease. But still, isn't swinging a sword above a person's head very dangerous? Well, it is, but the sword you see was a gimmick sword, which might even be just plastic. And the pineapple placed on Howie's head was pre-cut to almost 90 to 95%, and thereafter only needed a small force to slice it apart. Also, the golf-shaped metal bar to the right of his face is almost 3 inches, which means the sword would just rebound and not hurt him, in case he missed his target. Finally, while removing the foil, he puts back the gauze to its original position to end this amazing act which left the audience and judges gasping for nothing.
Impaled by Swords trick. Now this trick comes all the way from Thailand's Got Talent, and here's what the magician performed on the show. He got a cardboard box placed at the center of the stage, and calls her assistant on stage who will get inside the box. After she goes inside the box, the magician inserts multiple swords through the box all around. He even calls upon one of the judges to insert the last sword straight down in a vertical position. With so many swords having pierced the box, everyone was shocked and worried about the girl. The magician then removes all the swords, and what do we see? The girl comes safely out of that empty box and is doing all fine. So, how did the girl survive this dangerous act? Well, here's the secret. The cardboard box was big enough to provide space for the girl to stay safe inside. The box looked small on stage, however, it was easily big enough to fit almost 2 girls on the inside. After she goes inside the box, she brings herself in a curled position with her back at the top and stays at the bottom of the box as flat as possible. But still, there were many swords pierced. How come she survived all those swords? Wasn't it dangerous?
Well, it was, but the fact that the box had some hidden protection at its bottom made her feel safe all through. Yes, the bottom of the box had 2 paper lids, and that's what protected her inside the box. Here you can see how she positioned herself inside the box under those paper lids. She peeled up the bottom lids on entering the box. The paper lids were gimmicked and made out of thin yet strong rubberized sheets, while their outer covering was made to look like a cardboard material. Also, the backside of the girl's vest was strong enough and acted like an extra protection shield, so she was covered safely by the lids and the vest. Now, any of the swords which touched the lid were deflected away safely, and because of the vest, she didn't quite feel the impact. On the outside, the magician made everyone believe that the bottom lids of the box were flat. Coming to the final vertical insertion performed by the judge, how did the girl survive the straight down insertion? Well, moments before the box was impaled by the vertical sword, the girl changed her resting position inside the box. Now she could see what was coming her way, so she carefully gets hold of and pulls the last sword. Then she slowly guides the sword around her body through the box. The move was synced carefully, and on the outside, it seemed as if the magician has impaled the box. Also, the last sword was first inserted into the box by the judge, and the impact of insertion was at a much slower speed than the horizontal swords. This gave the girl enough time to grab the sword and guide it through. After all the swords were removed, the bottom lids were laid flat by the girl as she waits for the ultimate moment. Finally, the girl comes out of the box safely, and the box is revealed to be empty, which stuns everyone around.
And name any other magic trick you would like us to reveal. Tell us in the comments below. Do like and share this video with your friends on social media. For more such amazing things, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And finally, thanks for watching.